The door closes behind you. You walk to your car, and that's when it arrives. The perfect thing you should have said. Fully formed, devastating, exactly right, and 10 minutes too late. You replay the whole scene. There you were, in the argument, the confrontation, the moment that mattered, and your mind went completely blank. You stammered. You said something weak, or nothing at all, or the dumbest possible version of what you meant. And now, alone, safe, in the car, or the shower, or lying in bed, your brain hands you the flawless response, the witty line, the airtight rebuttal that would have ended them. The French have a phrase for this. They call it the wit of the staircase, the brilliant retort that only comes to you on your way down the stairs, after you've already left the room. This is the psychology of the late comeback, the universal, maddening experience of being a genius after the moment has passed and a fumbling idiot right when it counts. And almost everyone explains it the same wrong way. They think it means they're just not quick, not clever on their feet, bad at confrontation, slow. They file it under a personal flaw and feel a little ashamed of it. That explanation is completely wrong. And it's wrong in a way that should genuinely relieve you. Because the truth is, your wit didn't fail you in that moment. Your brain switched it off, on purpose, to protect you. By the end of this, you're going to understand exactly why your mind goes blank under fire, why the perfect words show up only once the danger has passed. And here's the part that should change how you feel about every confrontation you've ever lost. Why your blankness in the moment is not a sign that you're slow. It's often a sign that the moment mattered to you. And the quick, cutting people who always have the perfect line ready? What's different about them isn't that they're smarter. It's something else entirely. So let's figure out what's actually happening in your head the instant a confrontation begins. Here's what everyone gets wrong. They assume that being witty in an argument is a measure of intelligence. That the people who fire back instantly are simply quicker, sharper, better with words, and the people who freeze are slower. As if it's a fixed trait, a level of cleverness you either have or don't. But that can't be right, and you have the proof in your own head every single day. Because the comeback does come to you, brilliantly, perfectly, just later. The intelligence was clearly there the whole time. It showed up 10 minutes after the fact, fully formed. So the question was never whether you're clever enough. You obviously are. The real question is why your cleverness was locked away exactly when you reached for it, and then released the moment you no longer needed it. To answer that, you have to understand what your brain thinks is happening when someone confronts you. Because it is not thinking, "Oh, a spirited verbal debate. Let me marshal my finest arguments." It's thinking something much older and much more urgent. Threat, danger, attack. When someone challenges you, criticizes you, raises their voice, gets in your face, your brain does not carefully distinguish between a social confrontation and a physical one. To the ancient survival circuitry, an attack is an attack. A threat to your standing, your safety, your place in the group, registers in the same deep system that would respond to a predator or an enemy raising a weapon. And that system has one job, and it does it instantly, without asking your permission. It triggers the fight or flight response, the stress cascade, the full body emergency. In a fraction of a second, before you've consciously decided anything, your body floods with stress hormones. Your heart pounds, your breathing changes. Blood and energy get rerouted toward the muscles, toward speed, toward the fast and instinctive parts of you that handle physical survival. Your whole system shifts into a state built for one thing: surviving immediate physical danger. Running, fighting, reacting in a flash. And here is the crucial part, the part that explains everything. To power up that emergency survival mode, your brain has to pull resources away from somewhere. And the place it robs is the slow, expensive, deliberate thinking part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex. Your prefrontal cortex is the seat of everything that makes you witty. It's where careful language lives, where nuance lives, where clever wordplay, sharp logic, the perfect turn of phrase, the ability to hold a complex thought and shape it into exactly the right sentence. All of that lives in the prefrontal cortex. It is the slowest, most sophisticated, most recently evolved part of your brain. And it is precisely the part your survival system shuts down when it senses a threat. Why? Because in a real physical emergency, the prefrontal cortex is a liability. When a predator is charging you, you do not want to stop and compose an elegant paragraph. You want to react, now, fast, on instinct. Deliberate thinking is too slow to survive a genuine attack. So evolution built the threat response to do something brutally efficient. When danger hits, down-regulate the slow-thinking brain and hand control to the fast, instinctive one. Get the philosopher out of the way so the animal can survive. Picture the two situations your brain is confusing. In the first, an ancestor rounds a rock and comes face to face with a predator. The worst possible thing their brain could do in that instant is get clever. Weigh options, search for the perfect words, reflect. They need to run or fight in a fraction of a second. And the survival system that shoves the thinking brain aside is the only reason their genes made it to you. In the second situation, you're in a meeting and someone says your idea won't work. There is no predator. There is no danger. Your life is in no way at risk. But your brain runs the identical program. Same flood, same shutdown, same eviction of the thinking brain. Because it cannot tell the two situations apart. It evolved for the rock and the predator. It has never been updated for the meeting and the opinion. So it hands the controls to the animal, when what you desperately needed was the philosopher. The very response that once saved your ancestors' lives now sabotages you in every argument you've ever had. So now look at what happens in the argument. Someone confronts you. Your brain reads it as an attack. The threat response fires. Stress hormones flood. And your prefrontal cortex, the exact part of your brain you need to be quick, articulate, and clever, gets down-regulated, dimmed, pushed offline, right when you need it most. You reach for your wit and find the lights off. You go blank. You fumble. You say the weak thing, the dumb thing, the nothing. Not because you're slow, because the cleverest part of you was just temporarily evicted by your own survival system, which decided, mistakenly, that you were in physical danger and didn't have time for sentences. There's a second thing happening too, and it makes the blankness worse. The flood of stress doesn't just dim your thinking brain. It hijacks your working memory, the small mental workspace where you hold and juggle ideas. In a confrontation, that workspace gets swamped with the emotion itself. The pounding heart, the rush of adrenaline, the hot wave of being attacked. All of it floods the very space you'd need to hold a clever thought and shape a reply. So even the fragments of an idea you manage to grab slip straight through your fingers because there's no room to work on them. This is why people describe going blank as their mind racing and empty at the same time. It's racing with alarm and empty of anything useful because alarm has taken every seat in the room. And for some people, the response isn't fight or flight at all. It's freeze. The system locks up entirely. You stand there, mouth slightly open, nothing coming out, like a deer in headlights. Which is not a failure of courage. It's an ancient survival setting. When fighting and fleeing both seem impossible, the body's last option is to go completely still. The blankness has a name in the popular telling. People call it the amygdala hijack. The moment the brain's alarm center seizes control and the thinking brain goes quiet. And once you understand it, the timing of the late comeback makes perfect, beautiful sense. Because watch what happens next. You leave the room. The confrontation ends. The threat is gone. And slowly, over the next few minutes, your body stands down. The stress hormones drain away. Your heart settles. And your prefrontal cortex, the witty, articulate, clever part of you, comes back online, fully resourced, ready to work. And the very first thing it does, now that it has the bandwidth, is finish the job it was locked out of. It processes the confrontation properly, with full intelligence, and produces the perfect comeback. Right on schedule, exactly as designed, just in an empty car to an audience of no one. The wit was never missing. It was never a question of whether you had it. It was just behind a door that stress slammed shut, and the door only reopened once the danger had passed. The late comeback isn't proof that you're slow. It's proof that you were brilliant all along, and your brain simply wouldn't let you reach it while the alarm was ringing. Let me show you how this plays out, because it's everywhere once you see it. Take the workplace confrontation. Someone challenges your idea in a meeting, a little aggressively, in front of everyone. Your face goes hot, your mind empties, and you mumble some half-defense that convinces no one. And then, on the drive home, you deliver the calm, perfect, dignified response that would have settled it completely. The stakes were high, the room was watching, the threat felt real. Which means the shutdown was severe, which means you blanked hard. The higher the stakes, the bigger the threat, the more your wit gets locked away. Which is exactly backwards from what you need. Take the family argument. The person who knows precisely which buttons to push, pushes them, and you, an articulate adult, are suddenly reduced to sputtering, or to saying the one cruel, clumsy thing you instantly regret. Family conflicts hit this hardest, because the people closest to you can trigger the deepest threat. There's the most belonging on the line. So the flood is strongest, and the thinking brain goes darkest. It's not a coincidence that you're least articulate with the people you've known longest. They can set off the loudest alarm. Take the rude stranger. Someone is sharp with you. A cutting remark, a dismissive customer service voice, a stranger who insults you out of nowhere. And you stand there blinking, and only later, replaying it, do you find the devastating reply. You weren't slow, you were ambushed. The alarm fired before you could think, and the clever part of you was offline by the time you opened your mouth. The suddenness is half of it. A confrontation you see coming gives your system a chance to brace, but a remark out of nowhere detonates the alarm before any part of you has a say. And take the online version, which is the strangest of all. Because online, you actually have time. You can sit and craft the perfect reply at your leisure. And what happens? You write it and rewrite it and agonize and often delete it entirely. Because even with no time pressure, the mere act of being in conflict triggers enough of the threat response to muddy your thinking, flood you with emotion, and turn a simple reply into hours of stressful drafting. The threat system doesn't even need a real-time opponent. The conflict itself is enough to partially shut you down. Every one of these is the same mechanism. A perceived attack, a flood of stress, the thinking brain dimmed, the wit locked away until the danger passes and it's far too late to use. And then there's the part that can haunt you for years, the replaying. Not just the comeback that arrives that night, but the same argument, returning again and again, months later, years later, with you delivering the perfect line over and over to a person who is long gone and has completely forgotten the whole exchange. Why does your brain do that? Because to your brain, the confrontation never properly closed. It got interrupted mid-process by the threat shutdown, so the thinking brain never got to finish handling it in real time. And an unfinished thought is exactly the kind of thing your mind refuses to let go of. It keeps the file open, keeps returning to it, trying to complete the response it was never allowed to give. Each replay is your brain attempting to win, at last, the argument it was locked out of. The trouble is, you can't win a fight that's already over, so the replay never resolves, and it can loop for years. A tiny courtroom in your head where you deliver flawless closing arguments to an empty room. It feels productive. It is not. It's just the open file, refusing to close, quietly costing you peace over a battle that ended long ago. Which brings us to the twist. And it's a kind one. You are not bad at comebacks. Your brain shut off your wit on purpose to keep you alive. The blankness you've been ashamed of your whole life is not a flaw in your intelligence. It's your survival system working exactly as designed, doing its job flawlessly, just for the wrong kind of threat. It's protecting you from a saber-toothed tiger that turned out to be a coworker with an opinion. The system isn't broken, it's just old, and it can't tell the difference between a fist and a sentence. And here's the part that should genuinely reframe how you see this. Think about the people who do have the cutting reply ready every time. The ones who never seem to freeze, who fire back instantly, who always win the exchange. You probably envy them a little. But ask yourself, what's actually different about them? Most of the time, it's not that they're smarter than you. It's that they don't feel as threatened. Either they've been in so much conflict that their alarm has gone quiet through sheer repetition, or, and this is the important one, they simply don't care as much. The confrontation doesn't register as a real threat to them because the relationship, the outcome, the other person's opinion, doesn't matter enough to set off the alarm. Which means your blankness is often a quiet sign that the moment mattered to you, that you cared about the relationship, the outcome, how you came across. The people who stay coldly articulate in the heat of conflict are frequently the ones with the least at stake emotionally. So the next time you freeze and they don't assume they're sharper than you. It might just be that you're more invested than they are. Your fumbling is the tax you pay for caring. Their smoothness is sometimes the dividend of not caring at all. There's a particular sting to this that's worth naming. The people who hurt you most easily, who leave you most speechless, are often the people you love most, precisely because they can trigger the biggest threat. You're not articulate with them, not because they've out-argued you, but because the bond itself is what's at stake. And your alarm screams loudest when the thing in danger is a relationship you can't afford to lose. The cold, cutting stranger who isn't rattled by the fight has nothing on the line. You have everything on the line. So you flood and they don't. And it feels like they won, when really, you just had more to lose. Once you see that, the shame curdles into something closer to self-respect. You weren't weak in that moment. You were invested. And being the kind of person who still cares enough to be rattled is not the worst thing to be. So what do you actually do about it? You can't fully override a survival response that's older than language, but you can work with it. The first move is to lower the threat in real time, and the fastest way to do that is your breath. The stress response and your breathing are wired together. A slow, deliberate exhale is one of the few direct levers you have on your own nervous system. When you feel the flood starting, one long, slow breath out before you respond can take just enough heat off the alarm to let a sliver of your prefrontal cortex back online. It won't make you a genius mid-argument, but it can be the difference between saying the regrettable thing and saying nothing. And nothing is almost always better than the regrettable thing. It helps, too, to simply recognize the state you're in while it's happening. Just labeling it silently. I'm flooded right now. My thinking brain is offline. This isn't the moment. Pulls a little power back to the rational part of you, because the very act of naming what's happening is itself a prefrontal cortex move, and using that part wakes it up a touch. You can't think your way out of the flood entirely, but you can notice it, and noticing buys you a beat of control you didn't have a second before. The goal in the heated moment is never to win. It's just to not make it worse, to hold steady until the wave passes, and to trust that your real intelligence is still in there and will return the moment the alarm goes quiet. The second move is to buy time openly. You don't have to respond instantly. The entire premise that you must fire back in the moment is a trap. It's a script that says whoever has the fastest comeback wins. And that script is exactly what triggers the panic. So break it. Say calmly, "Let me think about that." Or, "I want to give that a real answer. Give me a second." That pause does two things. It signals composure, which is far more powerful in a confrontation than speed. And it gives your nervous system a moment to settle, and your thinking brain a moment to return. The person who can pause is, paradoxically, in far more control than the person firing off rapid retorts. There's also something you can do before a confrontation, when you know one is coming, and it works precisely because of everything we've covered. If you have a difficult conversation ahead, a conflict you can see on the horizon, rehearse it while you're calm. Think through what they might say and what you want to say back, out loud if you can, several times. Here's why this helps so much. When you've rehearsed a response while calm, it gets stored somewhere more accessible than the fragile, in-the-moment thinking that stress shuts down. A practiced response can run almost on autopilot through the faster channels that stay online even when your prefrontal cortex dims. So in the heated moment, instead of reaching for the offline genius and finding nothing, you reach for the rehearsed line, and it's there, ready, because you loaded it when the alarm wasn't ringing. This is exactly how people in high-pressure jobs, pilots, emergency workers, anyone who has to think clearly under threat, manage it. They don't somehow stay clever under stress. They practice so thoroughly beforehand that the right response no longer requires the part of the brain stress takes away. And the third move is the deepest reframe of all. Let go of the idea that you needed to win. The whole agony of the late comeback rests on a belief that there was a perfect thing to say that would have triumphed, and that by not saying it, you lost. But most confrontations are not won by the cleverest line. They're won, if winning even matters, by composure, by clarity, by not taking the bait, by being the calm one while the other person is flooded. The devastating comeback you've been mourning would often have just escalated things, made you look rattled, started a fight you didn't need. The calm, boring, non-clever response. "That's interesting. I see it differently. I'm not going to get into this right now," is frequently the actual winning move. You didn't lose by failing to be witty. You may have won by not feeding the fire. In fact, the person who stays calm while the other person is flooded almost always comes out ahead in the eyes of anyone watching, and often in the long run of the relationship too. Picture two versions of you in the same argument. In one, you fire back a cutting line. The other person escalates, and it spirals into a fight that damages something. In the other, you stay even. You don't take the bait. You say less than you could have. And the other person, getting no fuel, eventually runs out of heat, while you walk away with your dignity and the relationship intact. The clever comeback feels like winning in the moment. The calm, non-response is what actually wins, days and weeks later, when the dust has settled and everyone remembers who kept their head. The wit you've been mourning would often have cost you more than the silence ever did. Because here is the truth underneath all of it. That replay in the car, the perfect comeback arriving too late, is your brilliant mind finishing a thought your survival system wouldn't let it finish in the moment. It's not evidence of your inadequacy. It's evidence of your intelligence, plus a protective instinct that loves you a little too aggressively. You were never the slow one. You were the one whose brain cared enough to sound the alarm. And once you know that, you can stop replaying the old arguments, trying to win them in hindsight. Stop handing those moments any more of your life, and let the staircase wit be what it is. Proof that the genius was always in there, just locked behind a door marked safety. Now, here's something to carry into the next one. Notice that part of what floods you in a confrontation is the certainty that everyone watching saw you fail. that the whole room registered your fumble, your blank face, your weak reply, and is now quietly judging you for it. That certainty makes the threat feel even bigger, the alarm even louder. But here's the strange thing. That certainty is almost entirely an illusion. The people around you were barely paying attention to you at all. They were far too busy worrying about how they were coming across. You assume everyone is judging you, when the truth is, they're hardly thinking about you, because they're trapped in exactly the same spotlight you are. Why you're convinced everyone is judging you when they're barely noticing you is the next thing we need to talk about. For now, I want to hear it. What's the comeback that arrived too late? The perfect line you've been mentally delivering for years to an argument that ended long ago. Drop it here, in full. Say it now, to the audience it deserved. Because better late than never, and a perfect comeback is a perfect comeback, even 10 years down the staircase. And once you've finally said it out loud, you might just find your brain is willing to close the file and let that old argument go for good.